Hey everyone, I'm Jerry James Stone, and I'm super thrilled about this video. I got to sit down and chat with Carnie Wilson you probably know her from Wilson Phillips, but it was just a really fun interview. Before I get into the specifics of it, I also want to tell you about the recipe that I'm doing for it. I'm actually making my mom's homemade pecan tassies. It's a recipe that she's made for so long. I've grown up eating these for the holidays, and so I made this recipe sort of inspired by my chat with Carnie Wilson because we talked about everything. She talked about family, we talked about music, we talked about food, we talked about orgasms, bong hits. Like, if you can think of it, we talked about it. So I think you're really gonna like this interview, but check it out for yourself. Welcome, Carnie Wilson. I'm so excited that we got to do this. So I have to tell you before we get started, when we first kind of connected over Twitter, I was really excited, just for like many sort of nostalgic reasons and just kind of seeing where you are with, like, the food stuff that you're doing and just like, kind of where you stand politically and all those things. I was like, awesome, like that's my girl. So like, I was very excited. And then I meant to reach out to you about doing this interview. And then I just, how this year has been, I just completely forgot. And then just like a few weeks ago, my cousin and I were watching Bridesmaids, and and it just like came back to me. I was like, oh yeah, I was gonna reach out to her. And just hit that. It just reminded me, and I'm glad that you were down.
Oh yeah, thank you for having me. It's funny about Bridesmaids, I think Bridesmaids, it's almost like it sort of revives us in many ways, for a lot of reasons. Watching that movie, I think it just brings up, just pure, comedy to start off with. That it's one of the funniest movies ever, but there's really special about being a part of that movie, and it just sort of like just gives us a little, like, just a little wake up, with hold on. Every once in a while, it's like a little shot in the arm there, we all need it. So it's good.
Yeah. What is your relationship with that song? Sometimes I've talked to artists, over my like kind of professional career, and, with their top hits, there's always many sides to how you can feel about that, and so I'm just kind of curious what your take is on that song.
It's extremely special. It has a real healing and loving energy to it. And I think it has real strong legs. It's been around for 30 years, and I think it'll live on forever. And it seems to really strike a chord, no pun intended, with a lot of people. And I know that for me, I'm out of it. And it's sort of, I don't know, it brings back it's like bittersweet, like I feel like time goes by so fast, and all of a sudden I'm 52 years old when 22 years old, and out back in the day, when the song first came out. And it just is, it's remarkable that something can just keep going, but I come from a family of musical history. So it's like, the Beach Boys music and Mamas and Papas music has been around for so many years. So it's like, I feel honored that we set our own mark, but that, I know the feeling of being a part of something. It's indirect because wasn't my group, but it's my family, of music that's everlasting. Yeah. And I think that song, and quite frankly, I think the hits that we had, I don't think they're ever going to go away. I think they have a special place in people's hearts.
I agree. I think that, there's definitely, like when that song came out, so I'm 47 now. I was 17, I guess, when that song came out. And, it's, like, I think some music from that period, like you listen to it and it's a time machine, and like some music from that period, it just resonates. And that song, like, even like when it comes on Bridesmaids, when we were watching it, it still gives me goosebumps because it's just it's a great message. It's like, it doesn't feel dated, because the part that I think is charming about it is what the message is, versus like, if I'm listening to something from Madonna in the 80s, it's a completely different experience where it's just, I'm like, okay, Material Girl, you're kind of going that throwback direction, versus like, I just think that song kind of transcends the time. So I agree. I think that it's nice to hear that you sort of have that kind of attachment to it also.
I'll always have a huge attachment to it. But, I love all of all our music. Each song has a special, when I hear like Release Me, it really the harmony in that song, it just like, I'm like, that's the song that Wendy and China and I wrote together. It was our first song that we ever wrote together as just the three of us. So it's really super special to me. And that it's that three-part harmony the whole way through. That song is just as special, it's, I mean, Hold On is very hopeful, but Release Me is to me this quintessential Wilson Phillips.
Well, and I think that, I mean, your guys' voices just blend so well. I mean, I
Thank
think
you.
that's one of the things that,
Yeah.
obviously, I mean, just like starting out, you obviously had baked in brand cachet just from, the Beach Boys stuff and that kind of stuff, but, being part of that legacy. But I mean, your voices just worked really, really well together.
Yeah. When I was 18, it was so funny because I was such a stoner back then. I was like really a big stoner. And I smoked pot every day, bong hits. And I just remember like totally being blown away by the actual like CD that just came out. Like CDs just came out.
Right.
It was what was it, 1986. And I just graduated high school, barely. And we were just seeing her floor of Wendy's room, just taking like bong hits and then like listening to all these groups that we loved, and that crystal clear recording, of the CD and how good music sounded, like the remastered, like it was very bright. And there's something great about old records too, but there was something really cool about this. And so I was like, oh my God, I remember buying my first CDs and we would harmonize and harmonize. And my mom came down the stairs and she's like, what are you guys doing? And I said, well, we're singing harmony, Mama. It was me and Wendy and China. And she said, that I hear it through the floor, like through the ceiling. It
Yeah.
sounds so good. And we
Yeah.
were like, I know, doesn't it sound great? And it was just so organic the way it happened. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, it comes through, it shines through. And I think
Yeah.
that's, you kind of just reminded me of something that I kind of missed from that era. Now that I buy all my music digitally, I miss that packaging. I remember I just
Yeah.
being a kid, like I used to like, I'm big into comics and big into music. And so I'd come home and like, open the CD and read through the booklet while I'm listening to it. And when I'm done with the booklet, I'm just reading comics and sitting there listening to the music. And that sort of experience, you just don't have that anymore with everything being on iTunes and
I know.
Spotify and all that kind of stuff.
It's really different. But I think we'll hold on to our, beloved albums and CDs. And I think true music lovers, especially from, our generation, will never let go of that. No way.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's true. It's true. So what are some, like, outside of, being part of such a musical family and, just your own kind of legacy, like what are some of your favorite genres of music and favorite artists that you really love to listen to?
I'm laughing because I just always go back to the same thing. I'm such a sucker for 70s music
Okay.
that it literally just it makes me so happy. I love disco. I love disco. I love soul. I love Motown, but I don't know. I'm more like, it's hard for me to say what my favorite type of music is, but I just seem to, anything from 1970 to 1980 just tugs on my heart and my soul. You know what I mean? But then again, my favorite groups of all time, the B-52s, Earth, Wind and Fire, the Doobie Brothers, Fleetwood Mac, Heart. It's like those are it. But then you've got the whole rock thing like Led Zeppelin and the Rolling Stones, and it's just so classic. But that's what's so great. And then there's Frank Sinatra and Ella Fitzgerald that just rip my heart out.
Yeah. Yeah.
So there's a different place and a different compartment, but music, it's so vast and so fascinating how what it can do to you. But I do appreciate music that's like really uplifting. Like I love horns, so I love Earth, Wind and Fire because of that. You
Yeah.
know, horns are very inspirational to me. Like it can change my mood instantly. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
You know what? Like Earth, Wind and Fire, like "Got to Get You Into My Life." I know that was a cover, but like when I hear you just go, what? Okay, come on, let's go. You start. It gets you hyper.
Yeah.
At least it does. In me, it does.
So I was born in 73, and like my mom, it was funny because like my mom was really into music and we just had stacks and stacks of like 45s and records and all that kind of stuff. And so I grew up listening to all the 50s, 60s, and 70s stuff,
Oh,
as a young kid. And, as I kind of got into music as a kid, the one thing that was always really interesting to me is like, all the 80s music, they're just sampling everything, right? They're sampling all this older music. And I would kind of know these songs, and my friends would be like, how do you know that this is? It's like, I grew up listening to that because like, that's what my mom always listened to. She loved to dance. She loved, that kind of music. And so, like for me, like from that era, the 70s era, like I love Marvin Gaye. Like I love Sly and the Family Stone is one of my favorites. It's just, those, their songs, just like whatever they're singing about, whether it's love or political or racial or whatever it is, they just the way that they hit that, but with a pop melody, yeah.
well, the production was really great back then, it really
Yeah.
was. I mean, music is just so different now. I actually can't stand it. I mean, I like some, but you're right. There's so many great classic records, but I just believe the production was just so pure. Like you knew, the instruments. The instruments really had their thing. The guitar had their thing. The bass had their thing. The piano
Yeah.
had their thing. The horns, the strings. I don't know. It's my favorite topic besides food. So I could go on all day about every type of, but like you put on like Pablo Cruz and like oh God, I love it. You know,
Um,
70s music rocks.
yeah, I feel that. So I have to kind of come back to the food a little bit, and also I guess probably the bong hits.
The
So
bong.
yeah, the bong hits you're talking about. I have a couple questions. So when you're in that zone hitting the bong hits, what was your like go? Do you have a go-to munchie? Do you have a thing that you?
Oh my God. I was like, for me, back in the day, it was donuts. It was
Okay.
donuts. And like, I just like donuts. I have a real, I've written 3 books, and the second book I dedicated to the person who invented buttermilk donuts. If you look in the front of the book, it says like, I love you and I hate you. So it's like, how can that exist? Like a glazed buttermilk donut or an old fashioned donut is probably my number one favorite foods I could ever like imagine or taste. And so I have a real love hate with relation donuts anymore. I have a little bit of a donut, like a donut hole, or maybe even 2, or like half of a donut, because I feel ill, because of a gastric bypass that I had. So
Yeah.
it's like I get like dumping syndrome. So I don't push it, but
Right.
I can during the day eat a little bit. But I now have like a physical reaction to foods that are fried. So I really keep it low on the fried foods. I
Got it.
don't eat a lot of fried foods, but donuts would have been the munchie. Oh, I used to eat so much just, oh God. I remember one time we got so wasted and we went to the grocery store. We bought like $100 worth of just food, Twinkies and Doritos and Ho-Hos. And I loved Hostess growing up. I mean,
Oh yeah. I mean,
God. So,
as a
I mean,
kid, how can you not?
yeah, I mean, but like my husband's from Philly, so he's like, what do you mean Hostess? It's all about like Little Debbie's and,
Right.
and what was the other Tasty Cakes and, all those. So we had different, baked goods, but it's so funny because now I'm so into the quality of food, and I think we all are. Just generally, I think we've come a long way, in terms of preservatives and stuff that's really bad for you, and then the effects. I mean, I'm a food lover. You know what I mean? I love. You could give me pasta and cheese or butter, and I'm pasta and butter. I'm happy,
Yeah.
and I remain overweight because I'm not addicted to exercise. I'm addicted to carbs. If I was addicted to exercise, it'd be another story. But I hate it. Sorry, my kids are in school.
I mean, I get it. It's funny. I feel that too. It's like the pasta. So I mean, that's just definitely it's there just to eat your feelings, right? I mean, the whole point of it is kind of for that. So, coming back to your donut comment. So if you're ever I'm in the Sacramento area. If you're ever up this way, we have this like a farming region kind of up in the foothills called Apple Hill, and they have these amazing apple cider donuts.
My
Which
God.
are just so. I mean, I
Yeah.
would just send you some if I thought they would be good by the time they got to you. But if you're ever up here, let me know. I'll make sure you get the good cider donuts.
That sounds so, thank you for that. That sounds so good. That's cider.
Yeah, they have that, like, I mean, because that fresh donut just kind of melts in your mouth. It's just sort of, it's like butter, and then it kind of has a little bit of that tang. It's a really kind of, I think, similar in the same vein of the buttermilk thing that you're kind of talking about. It kind of has a little bit of that in it.
Good, good old cakey sort of, and they put. I love a cake donut. They put nutmeg in there. In fact, I tried to make one, and I let the dough. I don't know what the hell I did to it, but I put it in the fryer thing, just the little pan, just little saucepan of oil, and it just disintegrated. And I went, "What did I do wrong? I don't, because I'm not a frying person. You know what I mean?"
Yeah. Yeah.
But
So my second question, coming back to the bong hits, was, do you make edibles, or have you made edibles, or anything in that arena? And I don't think I signed on the website, but is Love Bites maybe gonna have some at some point?
right. I think we will. I do. I think CBD is really great, and I'm a sober woman for a really long time, so I haven't smoked pot or had a drink, and it's going to be. Wait, what date is it? August 5th. Oh, we're 16 years.
Oh, wow,
So it's a really long. It's a long time. And it's better for me because I'm an addict. Sure, we know that. So I can't do it because once I start, I can't stop. I know myself. But yeah, like I think people love that. I remember making pot brownies years and years and years ago. That's a whole other story of getting high. That's just like your whole body. I remember having sex and my orgasms were like, oh God, it was the best orgasm I ever had in my life when I was high on pot brownies. It was like my whole body was like, But it just who knows? Who knows? But I do think people. It's weird because there's like that medicinal part. The medicinal part of CBD is so big now.
Yeah.
And like it's a lifesaver for people, healing wise,
Me.
right?
Yeah.
I mean, right. Like, I mean, there's epilepsy, there's anxiety, there's all sleep deprivation, there's all kinds of stuff. And they're really, right? They're seeing it.
Yeah.
It's real.
Yeah, no, it totally is. It totally is. So when I first started my YouTube channel, I was working for a Discovery Channel, and I didn't really think it was going to be a thing. So I just made it a play on my last name, and I called it Cooking Stoned, even though nothing about it was related to marijuana. Because it just was like kind of goofing off, just kind of around or whatever. And it just kind of blew up. And I would go to food conventions because now it's like a job, and people would be like, "Where are the edibles?" And I'm like, "Okay, I need to change the name because it's not representative." And so I just changed it to my name. But like for me, it's like I have a really debilitating back injury, and I have like chronic insomnia to the point where like I will not sleep for days and get sick. And like the CBD is what knocks me out, and edibles are what knocks me out. And so without that stuff, like, I mean, I just get in a cycle where I don't sleep for days, I get sick, then I sleep the whole time I'm sick, then I've rested so that I don't sleep for days, and so it just fixes all of that stuff,
Sleep deprivation is awful. And I really believe that when I had my first baby, Lola, 15 years ago, the sleep deprivation, I had never experienced anything like that because I've always been a good sleeper. But when I experienced that was, I was going crazy. I was going crazy. I had a lot of postpartum. That's a whole other hormonal nightmare. But the sleep deprivation was like up. I never thought that I would feel so bad without that sleep. And so I do have my bouts when I have like either like even during this time, like with the election or with whatever it is that we've been going through. I get these things where I just don't sleep, and I wake up in the middle of the night and my head starts going, and I get physical things like I get like it goes to my tummy, and I'll have like I'll like need Pepto-Bismol, or my heart will race, or and also I'm going through premenopause, so I'm like, is this a night sweat? What the f- is this? But anxiety is big for me, and I can't take a pill. I can't smoke a joint. I can't have a glass of wine. And my nature is to reach for something to soothe or to numb or to erase my feelings. And sometimes I just have to rely on good old prayer, a bath, and occasional, CBD gummy with no THC, pure hemp. no THC. There's no psychotropic, nothing in there. And that's an occasional thing when I feel like I need my nerves to just, and it's okay with my sobriety. I take melatonin, probably, 5 days a
You're
week. I don't like to take it all the time.
describing your life.
Popular language, popular language. There are alternatives, but it's okay.
Yeah.
I'm not drowning myself in vodka. I'm not, taking 50 bong hits a day and taking pills, because that's what I naturally want to do. So this has been a good thing. So we were kind of getting off the topic, but with Love Bites going into that world of edibles, we probably will.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I look forward to that. Yeah. I mean, you're definitely describing my life too. It's like I had decades of just kind of suffering through bad sleep, and kind of got to the point where I was like, I need to find something to deal with it. And I went to the doctor, and they had like, here's all these different medications you can take. And I'm like, I don't want to take those. I don't want to, like, and a lot of them are like stuff you have to take daily. And I'm like, I don't want to be dependent on something to sleep. And the doctor was sort of like, have you tried marijuana? And I was like, well, I mean, like, I smoked a bit in college. Like, I was a late starter on all that stuff. I didn't get drunk or even drink for the first time until I was 25. So like,
Wow.
not for any particular reason. My parents were like, you can do whatever you want as long as you're responsible. And so I didn't have that like juvenile.
Yes. Right. That rebellion.
So, like most of my friends in high school who were like, drunk and stoned all the time.
Of course.
Yeah, exactly. And so I was like, well, I did it a couple times in like college, but honestly, it just made me fall asleep. And I was like, oh, it's like, she's like,
there you go.
and I was like, okay. And then so I kind of started, experimenting with, I would like, buying edibles and stuff. And sometimes they would work great, and sometimes they would like linger for like a day. And I was like, what was in that one edible that I took that like I'm still high by 3 p.m. the next day?
Yeah.
So I feel there's that part of it,
Well, I mean, I think if you're used to taking something, or you're like a wine drinker, or you drink occasionally, or you have a few drinks a week, whatever, your system, it's not out of your system completely. So your body is used to having a foreign, or a mind altering substance. And when you're clean and sober, it's really like, it's intense. So like when I had my cesareans and I gave birth, I had to be on Vicodin. And, with my sponsor, I did it with her. And then when I came home, I was still in pain, but that voice in me was like, oh, I like this Vicodin. I want more. And I called her and I said, I need to flush these down the toilet, because even though I'm still in pain and I'm taking it, doctor prescribed, I don't like this. I don't like how I'm feeling. The addict just starts shouting at me, like on my shoulders, the devil and the angel, but it's two devils going, you need this. Oh God. So I know who I am. I really do. I'm able to go, I know, Carnie, you want more. You always want more. I need to be tamed. I need to be caged. I need to be.
Sounds kinky.
What?
Sounds kinky. I like that analogy that you just have two devils. Like I feel that a lot. They're like no angel, just just two devils there saying like, do it.
It's hard. It'll always be a very touchy relationship, but or topic for me, not relationship. But the truth is that I think that marijuana is fabulous, and I wish that I could smoke it. And I feel like I'm almost an advocate, like that. I would rather people get stoned than get drunk. Because, even though you have to watch, that's why I think the edibles are great for people, because if they want that feeling of relaxation, they can get it without hurting their lungs or whatever. But that's a whole other conversation. I know there's so much like controversy around it, but the truth is, I think it's harmless if you were smart about it.
Yeah.
And, you don't go in a car and start driving if you're stoned, but like, get stoned, enjoy food and sex, and just woohoo, have a party, man. That's all
I'm feeling very seen right now, so thank you very much.
Well,
like, all the
Yeah, I'm a proud sober woman. Don't So there's that weird kind of like, well, what are you really saying? You're sober, and but I can say for me, I can't control it once I do it. So my hat's off to Anne, and I wish I could. That's where I land.
Yeah, I mean, and that's where I kind of stand too. It's like, like my first cookbook was on cocktails. You might appreciate this. Actually, Michelle Branch, the musician, wrote the foreword for that book. I've done a lot of cocktail stuff. I love wine tasting. I've written about wine, but and I like to have a beer or a glass of wine or a cocktail, but I'd much rather take an edible than drink. If I like, it's really about like drinking social for me. I do that with people. Like I don't
Yeah.
ever drink by myself.
Right. See, you're
Whereas like
not
I
an
can take an
alcoholic.
edible and just watch Bridesmaids.
Right. See, you're not an alcoholic. You see, when you
Yeah,
say a drink, I
yeah,
mean singular. I don't think like that. I
yeah,
think, I think that. I think that. That's different.
yeah, yeah. I mean, it is a trigger. I mean, people are
Woo.
very hot. I would love to hear kind of we sort of talked about this a little bit, but I'd love to hear kind of like just the evolution of how you got like how Love Bites came about. Like what was sort of like that journey, like what when you're kind of figuring out the brand and figuring out what you wanted to make and what you wanted it to be. Because I see you have like those delicious shortbread cookies on there, and like there's like candles I believe I've seen on there. I mean, there's just sort of it really feels like a lifestyle brand in so many ways too. So I'd love to kind of hear where that inception kind of started for you and like how it's evolved over time.
Yeah. Oh, it's so wonderful. Well, okay, so let's see. Back when I was pregnant, I started baking. I've been cooking for a long time, many, many years. But when I was about 25 years, I've been cooking and baking, but I really started diving into baking when I was pregnant with Lola. And I used to start making, I got sober right before I got pregnant, and I started making these bread puddings for all the drunks at the AA meetings. I make these, and one of the funniest things that happened was when one of my first bread puddings I made, I put rum extract in it because I thought that the drunks would love the flavor. So it tasted so alcoholic, and my sponsor goes, "You can't serve this in an AA meeting. It tastes like pure alcohol." I'm like, "Well, I thought they'd like the taste. It's rum." So I had to throw the whole damn thing out. But it started me on this path to like bake for my friends and people. And when I
Yeah,
started seeing their reaction to like these bread puddings I would bring in and these cheesecakes, I was like, Jesus Christ, I think I have something here. I really love to bake for people. And one day I was making this key lime cheesecake, and I was stirring the batter, and my grandma passed away a long time ago, and she was a great cook and a great baker, and I used to roll matzo balls with her in the kitchen, and I used to watch her bake, and I loved her food. She was my little Jewish grandma. And I swear to God, I heard a voice over my shoulder saying, like, her little voice, she had like these little fake teeth, and she had this funny little voice, and she would take out her teeth, to eat. It was the funniest thing. And her cheeks she'd chew, and they would go like this, and she'd eat no teeth in her mouth. But she was the sweetest woman. And I swear I heard this voice. She said, like, your fortune's in your food. Your fortune's in your food. I heard this voice. And I'm like, that sounds like grandma. Am I going crazy here? And I'm like, what does that mean? Your fortune's in your food. And I really thought I heard a voice saying that. And I realized, I was like, well, God, maybe it is not just a fortune in the monetary way, but my good fortune in general. And I thought there's something here. And then I just started envisioning. I actually was like on a mission, and I would like go to like the Michaels or any of the stores and buy like little molds, and I started making cheesecakes that were smaller and smaller and smaller. And I was like, well, this makes sense because I want to watch my portions, and people really are. That's the whole thing. We've like in the last 15 years, it's always been about portion in America, that it's not exactly what we eat. Of course, we have a lot of processed foods, but it's more like how much we're pigs. We can't stop. The double, the super size. So I was like, I'm on to something here. This is the way we should do things, because I would never want to give up desserts. It's too pleasurable. No way am I going to say, oh, no more sugar. No, never. So I'm like, okay, I know what to do. Make baby portions, make them delicious, and have one or two. And yes, it'll require some willpower. But I really believe that our brains, we can have something delicious and go, you know what? I'm good with that. I don't have
yeah,
to have the whole goddamn piece. So I started envisioning. I started doing creative visualization, and I started envisioning all these people eating these desserts. And ironically, my best friend from 7 years old, uh, owned restaurants. She's an incredible businesswoman. And I called her up one day and I said, I have an idea. I have recipes. I don't have a company, but will you partner with me and let's start a company? And literally that month, I mean, and we've been Love Bites by Carnie since 2015. And Jesus, that was the beginning of it. So Tiffany's sort of the business side of it. And I'm, I create the recipes and they're all created by me in my home with my two hands and my own tongue. And I sit there and I bake, I cook, and then I feed everybody and I get reaction. And I know, like, do I tweak it? What do I do? So much has happened in the last 4 years, but I'm trying to answer your question. You know what I mean? Like, it comes from love. It comes from the love of feeding people. It comes from the love of food. It comes from not depriving ourselves, but eating really good quality stuff and being like, yeah, this is all I need. I'm good.
Well, and I think there's a lot of parallels to kind of, your musical journey and your food journey, right? Like there's that community, you're building community, and you are a creator, and whether it's being, music and that sort of thing, it's food, and I think that, I can see sort of that kind of visceral, vibe just being there for something that you want to like put out there. I mean, that's kind of what, in a way I sort of relate to that, because I started out I went to school to study computer engineering. So I was a software engineer for the Department of Defense for like 10 years. And I wasn't too happy with it. And I've been a vegetarian since high school, and I've always loved to cook. And I kind of just like, I started kind of blogging and kind of got into it. And then it just that's where it kind of blew up, and I left software, and I've been doing this since like 2008. And it's just, it's like, I found my community, my hub, my path, and like as a creator, and it's just sort of the same kind of vibe. That's why I love doing these interviews, connecting with people who I kind of feel that, are in that space. It's like, because food to me is just 100% community. It's like, it's political, it's community, it's, it's really important. And so I just love how it connects people in many ways.
Me too. But we have to eat. We have to make decisions. We have to eat to live. So, we have to eat to live, and also we can also live to eat at the same time, because there are people that are foodies, and I'm one of them, and you are too, obviously. But a lot of people out there are afraid to sort of cross that line, because it's like this control thing. And I know what it feels like to lose control when it comes to food. I know what it feels like to have control and lose control. I've been there. I've been on both sides. And it's that happy medium that I've just been trying to find for so many years. But when it comes to desserts, it's like, it's more than just food. It's also like finding something in my life that's made me so happy. My children make me happy, and I'm so in love with them, and I want a bright future for them, and I know they'll have one. And love is the most important thing, of course, and compassion, and they've got it. They got the bug real good, and I'm so proud of that. But at the same time, they've watched me turn my passion for something into a business. And it's so hard right now with COVID. We were going to be in all the grocery stores. We had to just put a halt on everything, and it really, really hurt us. And so we're hanging in there, but it's really rough. And I just, there's a lot behind this. Having a women-owned business with my partner is a dream come true. We got a certification. We are a women-owned business. That's a big goddamn deal, and there's a lot behind that. We've got a philosophy behind our company as well. And we want to have a nice humanitarian part of this. We want to build this community and be a brand, so that we can have a lot of employees that have stock in the company, that are inspired by that, and they can fulfill their dreams, and this community of everybody working together. That's part of it too.
Yeah. And I love that. I love that so much, because I think that, well, for one, I just think we just need more women leaders everywhere, in like every capacity, right? Like, especially in politics. Definitely more female leaders need to be there.
Yes. That's obvious. Yes, yeah. It's just happening. It's happening left and right. It's happening right now.
Right. And that's kind of, like I was telling you a little bit about the comic book I started. And that's kind of came from the same space, because I I've been doing my YouTube channel and food blog now for about 8 years, and I get people who come to me, and I really discovered this at the peak, at the beginning of the pandemic. I kind of did all these like food storage videos, just sort of like over the past handful of years, because see what people were searching for and looking for. And the beginning of the pandemic, they just blew up. I mean, like in one day, I got like 15,000 new Twitter followers and like 20,000 on YouTube, because people are like, I don't know how to store stuff, and now I'm stuck at home and I have to cook, and they don't want
Right.
to go to the grocery store as much because it's dangerous out there. They want to save money and have food last, and so and it's like, how can I better contribute to those communities? And so, and where I'm going with this is, I'm just going to throw this out there now. I think at some point when this pandemic is over, if you ever want to like collaborate on a baked good, like we could come up with something fun together, maybe cook together.
That sounds fun. Yeah, you never know where that will go. I mean,
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
it's I like the possibility. Yeah.
Yeah, but I love what you're doing with that. I think it's, I think that we need more of that, where people are just putting that positivity and light out there, and and through food, and I love that, like, it kind of comes from the dessert space, because I feel a lot of times when people look at healthy relationships with food, it's about like what you can't have,
I
it's
know.
like, so
I know.
I love the spin. Well done, Carney.
Thank you. I know there's a weird psychological thing about it, but listen, I don't, I never had control with sugar. I never had control with it. And now I do. And that's a great thing. Now, quesadillas at 11 p.m., nachos, or, that kind of I mean, that's the hard thing for me,
Yeah,
is like, it's calories in versus calories burned. That's there is no that's the science,
yeah,
motherfucker. That's the science. You cannot escape that. So I'm like,
right.
all right, Carney, you can justify this, or this is low calorie, this is the portion control, but how much are you eating during the whole day versus how many calories are you burning? That's weight gain or weight loss or maintenance. And I always say, where are you at in that spectrum? Are you at weight loss, weight maintenance, or weight gain?
Yeah.
Take a look at your log and check it out, and it'll be evident. So, where do I want to be? And I always say, I am where I am when I'm there. And
Yeah.
there's no secret with this kind of stuff.
No.
There isn't.
I mean, that's the thing about these fad diets that you see people doing. I'm like, it's just caloric. I mean, you don't have to, it's math,
It is.
But, we see how much trouble people are having with like counting ballots. So like, hey, I mean, it's no wonder people struggle.
It is. I mean, and nutrition and health, it's a whole other thing. I mean, really, it's, we know all the foods that are really good for you, and we just try to eat more of those. I mean, I am not, I'm proud to have a company that is focused on desserts, and I do plan to expand it. I mean, I do love food, and I love to cook. So my thing will always be smaller portions, delicious food that, is somewhat healthier, like the least amount of preservatives you can put in something,
Yeah.
really high quality stuff, because that's what I want. I know the difference, now, and I hate to say it because I don't want to put down another company, but when I taste the food that I used to eat, those baked goods years ago that start with an H, when I taste them now, I can barely swallow it. It tastes disgusting to me. And I
Yeah.
don't know if it's because my palate is used to better, more pure quality, or whether they changed the recipe, but I don't know how the people can eat that. It tastes like wax. I don't understand. So
Yeah.
I'm so proud, right? I mean, but it's hard to not charge an arm and a leg and make a profit on something, because the good stuff is more expensive. That's
It
what
is.
we know. That's what we realize.
Well, and that's, I mean, you hit on something I think that most people don't understand, is that health is really a
Yeah.
privilege,
Yes.
and access to
Right.
that you should eat, even access to just like being healthy, whether it's exercise, going to the gym, those sorts of things, healthcare, it's all a privilege. It's all tied together, and so,
I
I
know.
mean, it's so true. I'm kind of, sorry, I didn't want to interrupt where you're kind of going with that.
Right.
But
That's okay.
I think that, you're spot on. It's brilliant in that sense.
Balance. It's just balance. It's balance. I look at every day as a privilege. I wake up and go, thank you, God. I say my prayers every single day, and the world's we're in a weird place right now, and with a lot of things, and I blame technology a lot for it. I feel like the world is really impatient. I feel like we want more quicker, and I think everybody needs to slow down in general in life, and that it's not such a race, because we're racing for what? Because really, ultimately, we're just racing, and we're just going to die anyway. So slow the down and enjoy, the things that are just there for free and for in abundance.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's abundance of love, and there's abundance of, the sun comes up every single day. The sun comes out. And my
Yeah.
bestie Tiffany, my partner in love life, she said the other day, when I was all thinking about, Trump and this and that, and everyone, all the different opinions, she's like, Carney, the sun's going to come up, and what's going to happen is going to happen. And at the end of the day, I just want people to just respect each other.
Yeah. Yeah. It's, I know, I think that, social media definitely exacerbates that a lot. I think that, we've kind of, since we sort of talked about our childhood, I think just in general, people are raised to not talk about politics and religion. Those are sort of like, oh, we don't discuss those. And so instead of like, now that we have social media, instead of getting to a point where I think people can have learned how to have those conversations in like an adult way, they just don't know how to. And like with the sort of anonymity that comes with social media, it just,
I know. Well, I tell you one thing. I really believe that people, it can be hard to find your own voice, because everybody's got such an opinion. So, to me, staying true to like, what's in your heart. How do you feel about something in your heart? And what do you believe in? And to never be ashamed about something that you believe in. And look, it's a hard thing, because there's a line that I think you can cross. And I can't control to say to someone, what, you don't believe in gay marriage, you don't believe that two men should be married, you don't believe in that two women should be married. And my gut inside is like, what the is wrong with you? Love is love. Like,
yeah,
why shouldn't anybody just be able to love who they want to love? But I have to remember that people are, maybe it doesn't come from damage. Maybe it doesn't come from religion specifically. Maybe it comes from a parent, them growing up, and them all they ever heard at the dinner table was, this is the way life is. This is the way you have to believe. This is what you have to believe. Maybe it was instilled in their brain from when they were 3 years old. Maybe it wasn't. Maybe it's an opinion they formed on their own. Maybe they're afraid of something inside of them that they're not willing to admit. I don't know. But I do know that stay true to yourself, and that's the best you can ever be,
yeah,
and don't harm somebody else. That is it. You
yeah,
know,
yeah.
that's what I think we struggle with.
Yeah, no, I on some levels, I feel that just personally too, because it's like, I've always been outspoken about politics. I've always been an activist for like equality on every level, like, whether it's, gay rights, LB, women's
Right,
rights,
right.
whatever. And I've always been really out. I mean, I've marched in marches and from way back in the day. And so like, with social media, it's always been that sort of megaphone. And, definitely these past 4 years, everything has been so toxic that I even find myself kind of getting caught up in it. And I'm like, yeah, sometimes like kind of like you were saying, like we talk and like you wake up and the sun's going to come up, and I have that sort of like conversation with myself. I'm like, okay, I'm like not going to lose my cool today. I'm not
Right.
going to call someone a twat waffle. I'm not going to like, I'm just going to be kind. And then like I see something on Twitter like from like Ted Cruz, and I just lose my,
Oh
it's just like,
my God.
and
It's
it's,
like, oh God. But I mean, no one has a worse mouth than me. I mean, here's the thing. It's like, you want to practice what you preach, right? So I
yeah,
say, don't, hurt it. You can have your own opinion, but like if I'm driving on the road and somebody, is tailgating me, I get very, very nervous when someone tailgates me. It's a weird example. And it like the feeling starts like a fire. It starts to build and build. And I start getting a resentment for the person in back of me. And I start thinking, I literally do this. I start thinking, what's wrong with this person that he's in such a hurry? What's wrong with this person? He's trying to intimidate me. He's going to hit me. I'm going to get into an accident. I hate you. And then I go to you piece of shit, and and I start this. And what is wrong with me that I go into this place where,
right,
I mean, I'm guilty of that too.
Yeah, it's
So
hard.
it's hard not to have an opinion. God, it's so hard not to have an opinion.
Yeah, I feel like this year has been definitely even though the past four have been pretty bad, like this year just has really been like an exercise in mental health, and like also
Woo!
just like an exercise in like, okay, not reacting when my blood is like literally boiling, because I'm a pretty chill, like kind of go with the flow kind of guy, and like even though I'm opinionated, I'm like, okay, you can think your thing, I'll think my thing, whatever, but you
Yeah.
just start seeing all the racism and sexism and all this other stuff, and it's just, I go from like being chill to like just on flames, like kind of like you're talking about, and
Well, I feel like, it's not that we've been tolerant of certain things over the years, but we kind of, it's like the voices are getting louder and louder and we're being heard more and more and more. And it's inevitable. Wake up, everybody. Okay, wake up, everyone. There are fat people, skinny people, gay people, straight people, white people, black people. Everyone exists in this world, and everyone is goddamn equal. And you just cannot, to me, you just cannot deny that. And you can be as angry as you want, or whatever, or right or left, or I don't care where you come from. It's just we all exist. And I think that now it's good to have a voice. The people that have felt suppressed and ashamed are coming out of their shells and they feel good about it. And I applaud them for that. And then there are people that for so many years have been doing the same thing. They've had a loud voice for all these years. They've just never been heard. Now we're hearing more.
yeah,
Now we're hearing it more. Thank God. Views are
yeah,
changing. Women are taking back the power that they should have had equally for so many generations. And it's wonderful. It's wonderful. It's not saying one's better than the other. It's just that, just go back to the 50s and you think of the husband and the wife. There's a stigma. To me, there's a picture that's not right.
yeah, yeah.
And it's changing, and that's good.
Well, and it's like, I mean, it kind of comes, I mean, a lot of what you're saying reminds me of sort of just like a lot of the Black Lives Matter stuff that we kind of had recently. And, I have to give my mom credit. I was raised by Republicans, Rush Limbaugh listening Republicans. So,
Wow.
and my mom has become more Democratic over the years. And, she kind of came to me and, when all that stuff was sort of peaking, she's like, I agree with everything that the Black Lives Matter movement is saying. She's like, I just don't understand why all lives matter is offensive, and I kind of was explaining that to her, trying to explain to her, like trying to come from different angles, and it's like, but we kind of got into that conversation where it's like, it's just so weird that when someone says Black Lives Matters, like that offends people. It's like, it's not like when back in like the 90s when people were saying save the whales, they meant like, turtles. It just was like, save the whales, right?
I'm sorry to laugh, but that was funny.
you know,
You're right on.
it's not, it's equality. It's not pie. It's equality. We can
I
like,
know.
and it does really kind of get. I agree with you. It's like understanding that people have these voices, and I think that's the good part of social media. I mean, everything has a good and bad. Just even like I think like with COVID, it's like you were kind of talking about how we all need to slow down. We've all slowed down.
Exactly.
Where people are cooking, like they're enjoying life, like
I love that part of it.
yeah.
This has been a really intense time. There's so much fear underneath everything. For me, a lot of my, I'm an emotional person, and a lot of my, I don't know, actions, feelings, it's like kind of fear is always the baseline of it. And I've learned that through actually my sobriety, and I connect with other people about wanting to escape my feelings, and a lot of it is fear-based, and COVID has really hit on a lot of things for all of us with that. It's really, it's very real, and I get very upset when there are people that don't think it's real, or play it down like it's it's a couple 100,000 people. It's like, it's not that much more than the flu or whatever, but we know that's not the case. And I'm just trying to, right now, it's like, I'm trying to be where are my feet today? I'm walking more consciously, but I'm not going to sit idle. I'm walking more cautiously. I'm not going to stop life. I'm not going to stop the optimism. I'm not going to stop telling my children life is beautiful. This is a blip in time. It's a very scary time, but the scientists are working so hard to come up with something that's going to help our bodies reject this and fight it, and we'll get there. But during this time, let's reflect. Let's think about the things that are important to us. Let's talk about what we want to do after this. Life was going so quickly, it forced everybody to slow down. And there are a lot of people that are thankful for that. There are a lot of people that are not comfortable in that.
Yeah.
And too bad. Too bad. We've had to do it anyway.
Well, I think like too, like this, and I agree with you, like the whole like not comfortable thing. I think you kind of hit on something that's really important too. And you probably already sort of understand this. I think, I think this is part of getting sober, but I also think it's part of just being a business owner. You kind of have to look at your a lot. You kind of have to be like, you don't have someone else to blame. You kind of have to be like, it wasn't like some boss gave you something. You have to be like, oh, I didn't do that thing I needed to do.
Right.
But you kind of have to own that a little bit. And I think that people are now having to own their behavior a little bit more. And, that's not an easy journey. That journey through sobriety. It's not an easy journey.
No, it's not. It's not. But I mean, we're all kind of being accountable. We kind of have to, we're forced to be accountable for our actions. And it's interesting to see how the way people are, there's almost a childlike defiance and rejection and just like this defiance that, well, you can't tell me what to do. And it's interesting, it doesn't even matter what the reason is for someone's life.
Yeah.
And even that doesn't stop someone from their sort of righteousness and their, their rights and their freedom. I just think we just have to look past that part of it. It's just the consideration for someone's life. And I just don't think we're ever going to convince all the people to think that way. We just won't.
No.
And we have to be okay with that. And we can only be responsible for ourselves. Jesus, I can only control the things, I say the serenity prayer every morning. I wake up and I say the serenity prayer. And I think about the things I can control and the things I cannot change, and help me see the difference. What is the difference with what I can change and what I can't?
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's true. I mean, it really, I think, I agree with you. I think there's this, I saw a poll a couple months ago. It polled Democrats and Republicans on the number of people who have died from COVID and how that made them feel. And it was like 60% of the Republicans were like, it's okay that it was like, almost 200,000. And I was like, that right there is the disconnect. You can't teach that empathy. You just can't. And it's it's tough. It's tough, but we'll take it another way. Let's get back into what's going on with you and not the craziness of the world. I'd love to, I'm very appreciative of the time you've taken with me so far today. I'd love to hear like what's next for you, what's next for Love Bites, like what's kind of on your agenda, and maybe what are you having for dinner tonight?
More importantly, let's see. Well, there's always like things that are upcoming. I mean, I'm pitching a cooking show myself. We'll see if that pans out. I'm starting a podcast. I'm starting a podcast. And I do have a major. I see. It's hard to say. I can't say what it is, but in April there's a launch. I'm going to be in some commercials that you'll see for a very big brand of clothing, and which is really great. So it's a really lovely campaign.
Nice.
And that'll be awesome. But Love Bites is the focus. I mean, it's a business, it's a startup business, and we are facing all the things that startups go through. It's a brand. I am wanting people to know more and more about it. So we're starting our official sort of, promotional and marketing campaign. And that starts like as we speak. We're setting up TV shows and appearances, but I haven't been able to do that until things were kind of put in place, and we had to pivot. Now we're doing things online through the website. We're not, in the grocery stores yet. That's next year. So we have to kind of go one step at a time. So Love Bites is running, and, people can go and order products that we have on the website, lovebitesbycarnie.com. And, there's different things you can order now. The cheesecakes are, it's amazing what one thing affects the other, like dry ice. like these cheesecakes, they got to stay frozen. It's like ice cream. So it's like one thing affects the other. Dry ice is not great for the environment. There's a shortage of dry ice right now. We can't keep frozen, so now we can't ship the cheesecakes. One thing affects the other. So we're focusing on cake products and cookies. So that's where we're at there. But eventually we'll have cheesecakes and all the products, and we're just kind of, one step at a time. And that's Love Bites. But for your viewers and if they want to order Love Bites, we have a special code for you. Your code is Jerry Rocks 15. So your viewers can get 15% off of Love Bites. Jerry, JERRY ROCKS 15.
Nice.
Yeah.
I was going to play on my name like Jerry Stone, Jerry Rocks.
Jerry Rocks. Well, that's the code we gave you.
Jerry Rocks 15. Okay, cool. We will send that out, and I'll put that on the screen and stuff so everyone can kind of see it and stuff like that. And thank you so much. I'm excited for my order to arrive. I will share that code out, and I will start just tweeting Love Bites on a regular basis to help you that along.
Oh, you're so sweet. I've had a lot of really great support. There have been some people that have just come out of the woodwork and said, I want to help support you and promote Love Bites, which is really beautiful. And I would do the same in return. And, and I, on Instagram, it's funny because Instagram, I don't love social media. It's not really my thing, but I do love Instagram. It's a lot of fun. And I do a lot of live videos and a lot of cooking stuff. And then tonight I'm going to be doing, and this is going to air after, but I like to do a lot of videos, and tonight I think we're going to make, I've been marinating this skirt steak. Oh, you're a vegetarian. You're a vegetarian.
Okay, you can still talk about it.
It's like talking to Sarah Gilbert about a cow. Oh God. That's not a great thing. Anyway, okay, I'll talk about the potatoes. I made twice baked potatoes. So I got my baked potatoes that and I put, I did sour cream cheese, milk, Lawry's, garlic powder, salt, pepper, and cheddar and jack cheese, and I might stir in some mozzarella. But and then I did green onion, and I mushed it all together. I took out the pulp of the potato, and I mushed it all that stuff, and I stuffed it back in there. And I'm going to sprinkle some cheese. I'm going to bake it. Yum!
Sounds delicious.
Twice baked potatoes, and alongside my skirt steak.
I often say I'm a cheesetarian, so I'm totally 100% on board with that.
Thank God. Oh, so you do eat cheese, right?
Yes. Yeah, those sound delicious.
Because
please send me the recipe if you can.
I usually, it's hard because I cook a lot. I have like 1,200 cookbooks. I collect them, and I've got just a couple of walls of cookbooks in my house, and I read them like books and like novels. I love cookbooks. So, I tend to sort of like remember, I remember this one did, they sprinkled salt and pepper on the bottom before they stuffed it. And I remember Emeril Lagasse, he's like, when you poach chicken, poach it in chicken broth, but put lime juice in there. I'm like, whoa. And I remember different things that different chefs say, and that's because I like to read recipes. So, this time with my twice baked potatoes, I put salt and pepper on the bottom before I stuffed them. They might have a little more flavor. You never know. Yeah. So that kind of is fun. But I if I remember, I'll send you the recipe. What else are we doing? I'll probably have corn on the cob, the twice baked potatoes. Oh, and then tonight we're going to do a live, we're going to do some kind of brownie, but I want Oreos in there. I want Oreos in the goddamn brownies. So my daughters and my older daughter's boyfriend, we're going to do a live tonight, and we're going to make brownies on the live, and we're going to put Oreos in them.
Nice. I don't think we're connected on Instagram, so I'm gonna go make sure I do that right after this, and I look forward to checking in and see what you come up with. I like Instagram as a platform. It's something I kind of got addicted to Twitter early on, so I'm just sort of into Twitter, but I'm kind of still coming around to Instagram, so I look forward to checking those out.
That's funny. I did the flip. I used to be more into Instagram, and now I don't know. I have less to say and more to do.
Right, there you go. Well, thank you so much for taking time today. This has been an honor. I hope that we can do it again sometime. And when this craziness is all over, maybe we can bake together or cook together.
I would love it.
I
appreciate the conversation as well. I really do. We covered a lot of stuff, and it's good. It made me feel good inside.
Yeah, No, thank you. I mean, I think that's why I really think food is just about community. It's like, brings people together and you just talk about everything. And we did really talk about everything. So yeah.
Good. That's good. That's good.
Okay, well, I will see you on Instagram later tonight then, and have a great day and stay safe out there. And I
You
look forward
too.
to, I'll tweet out the code and get some orders, and you'll be seeing me share Love Bites a whole lot more.
Ah, wonderful, Jerry. Thank you, darling. Be well.
You
And
too. You too.
take care of yourself. You have a beautiful smile.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay. Okay.
Bye, Cardi.
Bye. Bye.
Wasn't Carnie a hit? Right? She's so much fun. So much fun. I can't wait to like just someday when this is all over, all the COVID stuff is past, to hang out with her and to bake with her. Super, super great, fun personality. Once again, check out the recipe that goes along with this interview. I made my mom's homemade pecan tasties, so that link to that recipe is in the show notes. If you like this video, give me a thumbs up. If there's something that you want to see, hey, drop a comment down below, and I'll see you guys next time.